You pick up your phone to check one thing. 45 minutes later, you find yourself down this rabbit hole that you can't dig yourself out of. You're emptier and, dare I say, more behind than you were when you first started. And your most valuable resources, time, focus, presence with family, have all leaked away one scroll at a time. Fellas, it's time for us to plug in that leak. Now, in the one click mindset, I talked to you about the various barriers that get in the way when it's time for you to work towards achieving your one click. Let's see, the four that I mentioned in the book are the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, and the situational. And when we talk about this concept of digital distractions, they apply to all four of them. Think about it. So when we're talking about mental, those are the things that mess with your mind. When they're emotional, these are the things that tend to get in the way and distract you with various emotional pieces, including anxiety that it creates. When we're dealing with situational, it's those things like focus and productivity and presence. And let's not forget spiritual. Spiritual, those times when you really need to hear clearly from God, but yet you're distracted by those other things. Now, hear me when I say this. I am not saying that technology is bad or it's the devil. What I am saying, though, is that it needs to be subject to some level of discipline. Look, I am so grateful for technology. It's a gift. Whenever I'm talking to my students, one of the things I always talk to them about is the fact that I am 25-cent payphone old and not 10-cent payphone old. It's always fun to go down memory lane with my fellow Gen Xers, and we talk about the fact that growing up in a house where you had that one phone that had the long cord that stretched throughout the whole house. And I always like to ask the question, how long did a phone ring? Well, it rang until someone picked it up or decided to hang it up. This is even before we had voicemail. Oh, we didn't have voicemail. We had answering machines, the two cassettes, one that was the outgoing message, one that was the ingoing message. And so with those things, we recognize that technology is extremely important. But the key here is now more than ever, it is important for us making sure we are clear of distractions. A wise mentor of mine said, anything that you cannot put down owns you. I'm going to say that again. Anything that you cannot put down owns you. So this is a leadership thing, right? How are you going to be a leader if you are being owned by something else? If you're being ruled and kind of commanded and dictated to by something else? And so one of the mantras I'd love to give you is this: my attention is my authority. Say that with me. My attention is my authority. My attention is my authority. Now, with that, there are three major digital drains that I want to talk to you about. The first digital drain is that of time. Nielsen reports an average American spends over 11 hours a day on digital media. During my early career as a speaker, I actually was a speaker for a program called Make an Account. It was produced by monster.com, the resume people, the job search people, that sort of thing. And we would actually go into high schools and colleges and kind of empower them in it. And one of the many different talks that we gave, we talked about the fact that people talk about the most valuable resource being money. Now, money is important. I mean, I remember a classic song by the Wu-Tang, cash rules everything around me. What? Cream? Dollar, dollar bill, y'all, right? Cash is important. I get it. However, the most important resource that we have available to us is time. I want you to think about this. Now, theoretically, more money can be made, but you can't replace time. Think about this: 168 hours in a week, right? So according to Nielsen, they're saying that the average American spends 11 hours a day dealing with some kind of electronic media. Now, think about that. That's what, 77 hours on some form of social media a week. That only leaves 91 hours. And so 13 hours a day is left. Hello, when are you sleeping and when are you working? So when you really start thinking about it, you got to pay attention to your time. Most of us give more time to our screens than we give to each other. And I'm even going to say this: we give more time to our screens than we would give it to our purpose. How many times have you been setting out to do something and work on something, and then all of a sudden you were distracted? Hey, I got to check this thing. I got to look up this. Oh my goodness, I need to look and search for that. Those are pieces that show as signs of a digital distraction. One of the things that I always used to like doing, and I'll be honest with you, it's a habit that I need to get out of, is as I'm winding down for the day, I like to scroll, on my favorite social media platform. And how many of us have been there where you were just going to do it for about 20 minutes or so, if that, and all of a sudden 2 hours later you realize, I probably should go to bed. I even found myself sometimes, because a lot of times I'll do it with the headphones on so that I don't disturb my wife. I'll find myself in my dreaming about a video that has been playing over and over again because I fell asleep watching it. Y'all, that's a problem. When you're talking about the idea of time being your most valuable resource, just keep this thought in mind. It's something that you invest, right? Time is something that you invest. As a matter of fact, you show its value by how you invest it. So we talked about time. The second one is attention. Here's something that I'm not sure that you knew. Your phone requires your brain for constant stimulation. I'm not sure if you know this fact, but every scroll, every swipe, every sound that comes from your phone actually gives your brain a shot of dopamine. And after a while, your brain actually requires those quick hits as opposed to a deep dive. Now, that actually sounds very close to some sort of substance abuse. And there's a lot of linkage that actually says that digital distractions can show up as same types of symptoms as a person who has some sort of addiction. And so that's something to think about when you're trying to focus in on something. All of a sudden, your brain starts wandering. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you're trying to just read and you just get to wandering? Or how about you're trying to pray? I've done this in church and I lose focus really quickly. Or how about while working on a project, all of a sudden you have this overwhelming urge that you need to like check your email or check a post or something like that. All of that, believe it or not, is linked to that dopamine shot. Your phone is training your brain to prefer distraction over depth. So let's talk about that whole concept of focus. Focus is a muscle and it has to be worked like any other muscle. And so a lot of times, one of the things we realize is that we lack in focus because we haven't really developed it. It's something that we actually have to spend some time developing. We work our bodies, we build our careers, but we rarely develop in our focus. Focus takes discipline. And when we're constantly switching tasks or scrolling, multitasking, we weaken that muscle. And hear me out when I say this. It's not that you can't focus, it's that you haven't practiced focus. Researchers at University of Texas talk about this. They found that the presence of smartphones lowers cognitive capacity. It can be sitting face down on a table and you still cannot focus on anything except what's going on that phone. What's the first thing a person does as soon as they find themselves in a situation where they can actually reach for their phone again? They go for the phone. I mean, think about it. The anxiety of separation is real. Confession time. I remember a time where I literally have driven 45 minutes to get somewhere, was actually running late, and I turned myself all the way around so I could go back and pick up my phone. The pain, hear me when I say this, was too hard to endure. That's one of the reasons why I realized I had a problem that I wanted to share with you all. And so, look, I just had a moment of vulnerability with you all, but I'm going to ask you something. If you find yourself in a situation, just the thought of you having to go without your phone for a full day creates a little bit of anxiousness for you. Guess what? The rest of this podcast is for you. And you maybe say, no, I'm not there. I want you to still tune in because there may be some things that are going to help you. And there's some things that you can actually be aware of so that you can help somebody else. So I talked about time. I talked about the whole concept of attention. The third one I want to deal with is connection. Your phone creates emotional distance even when you are physically near. You could be in the same room as your family, but not present with them. You can hear their voice and still miss their heart. Connection requires more than just proximity. It requires presence. Whenever I'm teaching and working with different types of speakers, trainers, that sort of thing, I talk about the difference between eye connection and eye contact. And a lot of times when we're teaching speech communication, that sort of thing, we talk about the power of eye contact. And I think eye contact is extremely, extremely important. However, I can have contact with you, but there still be no connection, right? I'm just doing it because that's what I'm supposed to do, but I'm looking at you and it's still empty. Eye connection is actually what we want to go for here. Eye connection recognizes the fact that the eyes are the keys of the soul. I do realize that there are some cultures that you have to be very careful about looking people and making connection with them in the eyes for a long period of time. But even then, there is some level of intimacy that comes along with that form of connection. Now, don't get scared. You can be intimate with someone and it not have anything to do with sex. Hear me when I say that again. You can be intimate with someone and not have anything to do with sex. All right. Sex is a form of demonstrating intimacy, but intimacy can be other things. And so, as you hear me say that throughout this broadcast, one of the things I want you to recognize is what kind of connection do you have with people, right? Are you connecting to them as a person? Are you connecting to their soul? Are you trying to pay attention to the things that aren't being said as opposed to the things that are said? Those are all the types of things you're thinking about when it comes to connection. I remember one time I was having a conversation with my wife, and this actually happened relatively recently. And I was away traveling, and so I was trying to catch up with her, and she had some situation go on, and it was very clear that I was not present for the conversation that we were having. And she was just giving me the layout of the day, by the way, which I asked for. I asked for her to share with me what happened in her day. She was sharing with it, but I was not paying attention to what she was doing because I guess what was scrolling through my phone. And there was an email that popped up that was great news for our family. It really was great news. And at some point, Shavella would have been very happy to hear about that great news. Problem is, in that moment, I needed to show her that I was paying attention to what she was doing, what she was saying, how she was feeling. So that connection piece is extremely important. A lot of times we're scrolling, and not really paying attention to what's happening around us. We have to be present for those that we claim we are trying to be close to. And let's talk about the nonverbals a little bit. Just because the phone doesn't make a sound because you have it on silence does not mean it doesn't make a loud noise. Think about it. Every time you decide you want to glance at the phone, you're telling whoever it is that you're trying to connect with that that phone is more important than what they're saying. How many times have you said to your spouse, you know what? You're second to my phone right now. How many times you said it to your kids, hey, guess what? You're not number one in my life like I claim you are. You're number two, sometimes even number three. So the point is making sure that you eliminate that sort of distraction. So let's review a little bit. What's the first one? It's time. Second one is what? Attention. And the third one is connection. So as you're working forward to creating this distraction-free zone, let's talk about a couple of the boundaries. The first boundary is what I like to call the 1 hour phone-free boundary. All right. What this is that you're picking an hour in your day when you're saying, you know what, the phone is going to be somewhere else, but it's not going to be connected to me. All right. So this could be at the top of your day. I will actually say that you should have this hour in addition to any dinner time with your family. That's just my recommendation. Although there are some people that are starting out, they may just say, you know what, I'm doing good by making that hour of dinner time be my hour. And I get it. But if you actually want to ask me best practice, pick an hour plus any meal time, right? And so that they're important because what that does is that just allows them to know, you know what, this is a distraction free zone. And so pick that hour. And the question becomes, what do I do in place of that hour? Well, you can think of some things that you can be doing in place of that hour. So the first boundary is the 1 hour free zone. Boundary number two is turn off your notifications. Look, you do not need to know every time a sale comes through, every time a person sends you a message, every time you're getting some kind of notification about some concert tickets or anything that are now on sale. It's time to check in for your next flight. None of that. You don't need that, right? Turn that off because every ding is a ding that gets in the way of your life. And if you want to go to the advanced class in this, I'm going to give you this one. And I'm going to be honest with you. I know it works. I've tried it. It works. It's just a hard one for me. I'm just being real. But stop charging your phone in your bedroom. I know this is along the same camp of like taking the TV out of your bedroom as well, like preserving the bedroom for just that intimacy with your mate and also sleep, right? That's what the bedroom is for. It's hard though to do that. So I recognize this may be a little more advanced. But that is an option as well when it comes to the boundary zone that you can actually do a thing where you're charging your phone away from your bedroom. So maybe you've been thinking, all right, so Dr. Mike, you're telling me all this good stuff and you're saying I need to do these things. So basically what I'm going to do is just get these things out of my life and I'm not going to do anything else. No, 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 no. Hear me when I say this. You're not just eliminating something and not leaving it a void there, you're replacing it with something, right? So remember what we talk about here. This is an opportunity for you to increase presence. This is an opportunity for you to increase productivity. This is an opportunity for you to actually be able to just get some things that you've been distracted from doing. So in place of that hour, maybe what you'll do is you'll say, you know what, I'll designate this hour as a time to read. This hour, if you do it at the top of the day, could be time for devotions or prayer. It could be actually a conversation time. Like here's This hour is dedicated strictly towards talking to my spouse, children. It could be actually an opportunity to do all those things, just not with the phone. All right. So, what that may mean is if you're going to read, you probably need to actually read a physical book. One Click Mindset comes in hardcover and paperback. I'm just saying. So, also, here's another thing, you can go walk. You can actually just sit and do some breathing exercises. And I'm going to say this one, just sit in silence. Silence is powerful. Silence is a whole different ballgame. I'll never forget there was a moment that I was going through, and there was so much noise around me. Everything was just noisy and just, and I'm not talking about noise like the physical noise, just everybody had an opinion about stuff. Everybody had their own thoughts of how I should move. And I felt the Lord just say to me, I want you to just sit and be. And I did. I actually sat for a complete 2 hours in silence. And first of all, when the time was up, I was lightweight sad that it was over because I had to get back into the busyness of my life, but it was so, so good. There's nothing wrong with that. So sometimes you can just replace your distraction with your phones or your tablets with silence. All right, so real simple. What I want you to do, one click takeaway, is pick the boundary that you're going to use for the next 7 days. Just try it out, see how it fits. Try it on, see how it works. Don't just throw it away because it's uncomfortable the first couple of days, but just try it out and see what I'm talking about. You hear me say a lot about the power of momentum, and one small action creates a ripple effect, right? Like, and all of a sudden, before long, it creates a whole movement. And so, keep this in mind that these little things actually are going to add up and create momentum. So if you found this conversation to be very helpful, you found it to be useful, you there was one shot of something that was very important, I definitely need you. Here's what I need you to do. First of all, I want you to go ahead and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed already, wherever you are listening to this podcast, make sure you subscribe. And that way you can get the latest editions, the latest episodes as they come out. Make sure you do it. So if you're on YouTube, if you're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever platform you're using to listen to this, make sure you subscribe. The second thing I want you to do is pay it forward, right? You can get all this great information, but what good is it if you're keeping it to yourself? Don't be that gatekeeper. So make sure you like, share all these things with those people that are important, especially those people that you think could really find value in what it is that I discuss on the One Click Podcast. And finally, if there's anything that just resonated with you, please make sure that you comment in the comment section or even in the show notes to just say, hey, this is something that's vibing with me. I really appreciate this, Dr. Mike, because what that does is that encourages me and that keeps it going. Also, I pay attention to emails. I pay attention to direct messages. When you're coming at me respectfully, guess what? I'm going to come back respectfully. I'm going to receive it respectfully. So make sure if you got any ideas, any things, questions that you may have for me, make sure you ask them. And if I can answer them for you, I will. If you got any ideas for any future episodes, by all means, feel free to let me know. Y'all, this is a community. We're all in this together. And so with that, I wish you all the best. Praying for you and your next breakthrough. Until next time, this is Dr. Mike.